Hello and welcome to the Zotero tutorial. This is Tori Tier on behalf of the Southern Baptist Theological Seminary Writing Center, though this tutorial will be useful for other schools as well. Let's just get right into it. First, to use Zotero, you need to download it from your browser at this link, zotero.org. And once you click download, you'll see that it's available for Mac, Windows, and Linux. It'll take you to this page. And you need to do two things. First, you need to download it to your computer using this link on the left. And you also need to download it to your browser using the link on the right. And once you do and go through all the necessary steps, it will be right here. And so you'll have a button saved to Zotero. This is useful because you add citations in two ways. One is manually through the Zotero app, which will be on your desktop. You'll see mine is right here. And then when you open it, it's right here. So this is what it looks like. And you can add them manually. We'll do this in a moment by clicking the plus button in green. The other method for adding citations is automatically from your browser. And we'll come back to this momentarily, but you use this button. You'll see on this page, it is gray because I cannot save any citation on this page. However, if, for example, you are on Amazon looking for a book, of course, you could add it manually using the look inside feature if it's available and go to the bibliographic information page, which is one of the first pages. But you'll see now that the link is blue. Now, sometimes it will appear, this will be what the button looks like, but on mine it is a piece of paper which turns into a book. And I can click this button and add it to my Zotero collection or library. So those are the first steps you need to take in order to download the software to your computer and to your browser. The next thing you need to do is make sure that Zotero is in your Word document. You need to have the Zotero on the top bar. And to do this, you need to go to Word, go to Options, click Options. You'll see General. Then you need to go down to Add-ins. You'll see that Zotero should appear here, but you need to go to the drop-down menu for Manage and go to Word Add-ins and click Go. Then you'll see Zotero.dotm. You need to make sure you check it. So if it's not checked, you won't see Zotero here. Notice how it went away. And that's how it will look most likely when you download Zotero to your computer. So you go to Options, File, Options, Add-ins, drop-down menu for Manage to Word Add-ins, press Go, and then click or check the box for Zotero.dotm and click OK. And now you'll have Zotero on your top bar. You'll have a few buttons. This is not a comprehensive tutorial. This is just kind of the basics, so we'll go over a couple of these buttons. Here's going to be our template paper that we're working with. It's already pre-filled out. This is formatted for a Southern Seminary research paper using the research paper template. If you're at a different school, this will vary, but how to use Zotero will remain the same. So you'll notice we have our title, some paragraphs of Latin text, and some footnotes pre-formatted for us, and then even the bibliography page with the sample citation, which we'll use momentarily. So let's get right into it. First, let's add a citation manually. Now, all of this information can be found from a book called From Topic to Thesis by Michael Kibbe, or Kibbe. And we're going to add this book in as a manual entry. Now, the reason why I use this book is because Appendix E on pages 132 to 145 give a textual tutorial for how to download and use Zotero, and I am basing my tutorial, my video tutorial, off of this book. Let's go ahead and add this book to my library, and this will be the method you'll use for print books that you have in your possession or that you've checked out from the library. So let's go over to Zotero. You have to make sure in order for the citations to work, you have to have Zotero open and your Word document open at the same time. But here's my Zotero app, and you'll notice I already have several citations pre-programmed that I've been working with. But this is just a normal book, so we're going to go to the green drop-down menu and just click Book, Add Book. Now this only has a few options: blog post, book section like a chapter, journal article, thesis, or dissertation, but there's so many more that you can choose from. Now keep in mind that this is a free software. Zotero is free, so it doesn't do everything you can imagine that you would want it to do. But remember, it's free, and so it's a great boon just to have this. Anything that it doesn't do for you, more than likely you can do for yourself with just a few adaptations of the software through the citations in Word. But we'll talk about that in a bit. So let's just add book, and you'll notice it's going to give us blank information here. And we're just going to type in the title, From Topic to Thesis. Now I'm using capitalized headline style, which means you don't capitalize words like prepositions, and then colon for the subtitle. And it is called, the subtitle is A Guide to Theological Research. A Guide to Theological Research. The author's name, go last. Kibbe or Kibbe, I'm not sure. His name is Michael. There's also options for contributor, editor, series editor, translator. This is really important. If you're citing Augustine, for example, and he's translated by so-and-so, you would add that and it'd give you more options. But he's the only person we have on here, Michael Kibbe. If there's a middle initial, you of course would put it after the name right here. There's no series number, there's no volume number, there's no edition. This isn't the second edition or third edition. But we do have place. Where was it published? So that's what place is, publication city. It was published in Downers Grove, Illinois. And you'll notice that it will save common ones. Common cities, like New York, do not need the state abbreviation. Uncommon cities do. Downers Grove is a pretty common publication city, but it's not a well-known city on its own. So you would put the state abbreviation, which has to be 2 letters, all caps, no periods. So you wouldn't put ILL, period. You wouldn't put I, period, L, period. It's just capital I, capital L. The publisher is InterVarsity Press. You'll notice I have mine saved, so we'll just drop down. And it was published in 2016. The only other thing that we're going to want is for your short citations, which is last name, title, or shortened title. You don't include the subtitle, page number. We want the shortened title. So we're going to go down here to short title and copy from topic to thesis. There's a lot more information we could add, but we don't need that. And this is a good place to state very clearly that while Zotero manages your citations and your bibliographic entries for you, it doesn't do everything for you. In other words, you can't use Zotero and not have a thorough understanding of the Southern Style Manual, if you're a Southern student, or Turabian Chapter 16 and 17, which is where you get all your information for footnotes and bibliographic entries for books, or journal entries, websites, blogs, videos, government documents, etc. This just manages your software, so you are responsible for putting the right information in the right boxes. So it requires a thorough understanding of style, both Turabian style and Southern Seminary style, if you're a Southern student. So I say all that because you have to know that this is all the information that you need. So now we've added a citation manually. That's all you have to do. And now we're going to add it to our paper. So you'll notice I have one pre-programmed just to make sure that the template, everything stays formatted. So I'm going to delete the information. There's 2 ways you can do it. One is you can go to references, the end of your sentence. You put your cursor right here, press insert footnote, and once I did that, this number 1 would pop up, and this would pop up, and your cursor would go down here. So let's just pretend that's already happened. Now we're going to go to the Zotero tab. We're going to go to Add Citation. and we're going to use Chicago Manual Style 17th edition, full note. And Chicago is the largest one. Turabian is a subset or a more narrow form of Chicago. It's more specific, that's what we use. And so we use Chicago because Turabian is Chicago. So think of it from broad to narrow. There's Southern style, the Southern Seminary Manual style. More broad is Turabian, and more broad than that is Chicago. So we're going to use Chicago 17th edition. And you can click Manage Styles, and there is a Turabian form, but that's not necessary because they're almost identical. We want Chicago style. We're going to use footnotes, fields recommended. It must be saved as a Word document. And then automatically update citations. And notice it says disabling updates can speed up citation insertion. And I'm going to deselect it just for that very reason. Also, if you ever have to modify your citations, typically more complicated ones, it won't automatically update your citations and change anything that you have changed manually. Click OK. The red box should appear momentarily. And here's where you type in the last name or the title of your book. So we're going to type in from topic to thesis, and it will come up. And we're going to click it. You could add more information here, like page numbers, but we're just going to do a simple one for now. Here you go. Depending on, for some reason, mine likes to underline the citations. Yours may not. So here's Michael Kibbe's, and here's how we can check. We have first name, last name, comma, from topic to thesis, the subtitle, Downers, in parentheses, Downers Grove, comma, Illinois, colon, InterVarsity Press, 2016. Now let's say we were citing the Appendix E, which is the Zotero tutorial. We need to modify this to give page numbers. So we're going to add a comma. See how I can just type into it like a normal Word document, page 132 to 45. So now my citation is complete. That is a manually entered citation, and we use the add citation book. Now, let's say I was to cite the same author once again at the end of this sentence. You could do references, insert footnote. You can also do Zotero, add citation, but here we're going to reference the same author. So you could use Zotero to insert a shortened form, which would give you Kibbe from topic to thesis, page number. But you really only need to use Zotero for the full bibliographic entry. And you only need one bibliographic entry for this to be saved so that you can use Zotero to create a bibliography instantaneously. But just for simplicity's sake, I recommend just doing this manually. Kibbe from topic to thesis. Make sure you unitalicize that comma, and then we'll just say page 135, period. So there you go. There's your citation. Next, let's add a citation from the internet to our Zotero app. Let's try let's say you're searching on the Southern website of the library, and you come across To Know and Love God for Theological Method. Make sure you have this one clicked. We're going to do the same thing, save to Zotero. And it comes up with several books, but that's because there's a lot of selections on this web page. We just want the first one. I'm just going to click it and click OK. Saving to the Trinity. We just want to do My Library, and done. Tab over to the Zotero app. It will pull up. And this is what should happen. It should actually, once you tab over to it, it should have the one you just added. And so you'll notice it has saved it. Now this is what happened pre-tutorial when I was testing everything for the Amazon one. I'm not quite sure why that's not working. That's okay. But here it is. Now this is where it's really important that you are familiar with how to do Turabian style citations, because Zotero is just going to save all the information that's available and not necessarily in the correct way. So you have to manually double check to make sure everything is correct. So let's just go through. This is a normal book. And notice it has not capitalized all the major words, and it added a space before the colon. So you'll have to correct that. If you don't, when this drops it into your research paper, everything will be incorrect. We're going to leave the preposition uncapitalized or lowercase, and now our title is good. We're going to do the same thing to the shortened title, to Know and Love God. Next, we're going to make sure that the author is good. Clark David K. That is correct. Wheaton, Illinois. We do not need the colon because Zotero will make that for you. And we also want to make sure that we have the proper state abbreviation, which is capital I, capital L. Crossway Books, we can actually delete books. And notice it added a comma as well. But again, Zotero will create the comma for you. You just need the name. Here in the date, it has copied the copyright information or symbol and the period. You need to delete that, and then everything else is good. And this citation should be done. We can now add it to our paper. We'll use the original method, which I recommend. References tab, insert footnote, then switch over to Zotero, add citation. You won't have to go through the Chicago 17th a second time because you've already selected that for this paper. We're going to type in Clark for his To Know and Love God, and we're just going to press enter. And it should make everything correct except it likes to underline. That's okay. And we just have to double check to make sure everything looks good, and it sure does. Now let's do it again with a different book, and we won't correct it, and I'll show you the difference. So here's another book in the same series, which of course I should have included, which would be series name, Foundations of Evangelical Theology. That's the series name, and you could put the series editor, but that's not necessary. Again, you have to know your citations, so you'd have to add that. And once you do, it would appear right here, Foundations. So for this one, I can add it because I made a mistake, of Evangelical Theology. That's the series name. In future citations, this would come in automatically because I corrected the citation. That happens. That'll happen as you're doing research. You'll forget something. You just go back and add it. But let's do this one, and let me show you the limitations of Zotero. So we're going to add just the first one, light in a dark place. Press OK. It's a free software, so sometimes you have to do steps twice. That's okay. Done, and we'll switch over here. Light in a dark place, and notice this is all the information it gives us. So we are going to add it as is, and I'll show you how Zotero is not perfect. So let's use the second method, which is Zotero add citation. It will create the number for you, as well as the footnote information. It takes a little longer. The red should come up in a moment. And we're going to look up Feinberg for light in a dark place. Press enter. You'll see that it's not perfect. So let's get rid of the underline. And so the name is correct. Light in a dark place is correct, the doctrine of Scripture. However, there should not be a space here. And then we're missing the series name, Foundations of Evangelical Theology. And we're also missing the publication city and the publisher name. So that's why you have to be really careful to, once you add these, to go in and correct all the mistakes yourself. Because you can't always count on Zotero. It's just grabbing the information that's available. Feinberg, series, foundations. Place is going to be the same as the other, it's the same series. So that's going to be Crossway 2018. And now, if we add the citation again, let's go to our second page. I'm going to use my preferred method, insert footnote. Zotero, add citation. Now, if I add it, it will be correct and have all the right information, sans the dashed underline. That's why you have to make sure you always double check your citations. So that is how you add citations both manually and through the web browser. Next, let me show you how you can manipulate. We'll do a couple things. Let's add a complex citation. So let's say you have a proposition that is supported by multiple authors. So then you would give a compound citation. So let's go insert footnotes. And now we're going to add multiple, and we're going to need page numbers as well. So let's add citation here. We're going to add some other ones that I have saved. So let's add Greg Allison's Historical Theology. And we're going to add Adonis Vidu's article on inseparable operations, which is a journal article. We'll also add Kyle Clonch's article on inseparable operations. And let's see, we'll also add something by Fred Sanders on the Trinity. Invisible Missions of the Trinity. This is a blog, but it's a blog on a Trinitarian issue. So let's go ahead and add that. And let's say you want to add, you could just press enter and it would give you them. But let's say you want to add the page numbers. You can go over here to the Zotero button and go to Classic View. And you can show editor. And in the editor, you can actually, this is what your footnote will look like momentarily. But in the editor, you can add the page numbers yourself. So you can just add a comma, say 12 to 22. Adonis Vidu, you'll see how it has a semicolon between citations. Adonis Vidu, journal article. Now here it is including the page range. Now this is important for the bibliography, but not necessarily for the citation. So the citation, maybe you're just citing pages 106 to 109. And then it includes the URL, which is important. Then we'll go to Kyle Clonch's article. And again, it's going to give the page range, which is important for the bibliography, but we just want the first two pages, 781 to 82. And finally, we have Fred Sanders' blog. There is no page number. Here, we're going to manually delete blog because Zotero is adding it for us, but I've already programmed it in. That's okay. You just have to keep that in mind, and then you just manually edit your own citation. There is no page number because it's a website, so we're just going to press OK. It should give us a nice compound citation, sans the underline, which we have to do manually. Yours may not. And then you can just double check again that everything looks good. So here we have several citations. We have a full book citation and a short form, which we added manually, a full book citation from a series, the same one that's incomplete. And in fact, I'm going to delete this one. The easiest way is just to delete the footnote number. It will delete everything. Then we have another one from the same series, perfect citation. And we have a complex one. So that is the basics of using Zotero to make citations. Of course, you can also, let's do one final one where you want to talk about your source. So let's just do insert footnote, come over to Zotero, and we'll add Vidu's chapter from his book, from a book, a multi-authored book. Just going to go ahead and add it. Gives the page range, which is important for the whole book, but we're just going to be citing pages 23 to 25. And then you want to talk about the author. You could say Vidu goes on to say, and then you quote him. And then since you've already cited, since you already gave it a full citation, you would just use parentheses to give a page number and then period. So you can continue to write in the footnote even though you've used Zotero to drop it in. There you go. So finally, let's go ahead and make our bibliography. We've used citation. You can do document preferences. You can check all that. You can play with it. But what we're going to do is add in our bibliography. Now remember, you only have to use Zotero for one time for each source for it to be saved into the cloud, so to speak, of your bibliography. So once you go to your bibliography, you just click the button Add or Edit Bibliography, and it will add everything in alphabetical order. Now, for the time being, I'm going to keep the sample citation just to preserve formatting. So we'll start right here, Add Bibliography, and it's probably going to ask us if we want to change citations. So you have modified this citation since Zotero generated it. Do you want to keep your modifications? This is really important if you're adding page numbers yourself. Yes, you do, so you're going to click yes for each one. It doesn't change the bibliography, it just makes sure to preserve your footnotes. So you'll notice it drops everything in, but it doesn't drop everything in with perfect formatting. The Southern Seminary style requires 0.35 inch hanging indentation, as we have here, and we have a single line space between each one. That's okay. You just have to highlight everything, and we're going to right click and go to paragraph. We're going to change everything manually. So hanging indent 0.35. We want a 12-point space after, and we want the line spacing to be exactly 12 point. Click OK. And now everything looks beautiful and matches our original or our sample. So you can also double check, right click, paragraph, hanging indent 0.35, spacing after 12 point, line spacing exactly 12 point. So everything is good. We're going to delete our sample. And now we have everything in alphabetical order by author name. And again, you would want to double check to make sure everything's correct. Make sure your periods are in the right place. Here, since this is a journal article, you do need the page range. So this is correct. From topic to thesis, that's our new source, Fred Sanders. Here we have blog repeated, which we don't need. So we'll just delete that. And we actually do need a period, not a comma, between the website name and the publication date, the date that Fred Sanders published or released this blog post online. Adonis Vidu, his chapter, here's the page numbers for his chapter, in the book, in Locating Atonement, edited by Oliver Crisp, and this is the series name, Explorations in Constructive Dogmatics. We want to double check that in our footnote. Edited by Oliver Crisp. Here's the series title. Great. And then finally, we have a repetition of Adonis Vidu, which everything looks great. We have the journal article range, page range, and then we have the URL. Notice the URL does not have the link. It's not blue and it's not underlined. That's correct. The only thing that's incorrect that you have to do manually is these dashes or hyphens. What Southern Seminary style requires is 8 underlined strokes. So you just highlight, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and you do that manually. Here the URL gets pushed to the next line. You can add an artificial space just to make it look a little better, and you could even do it after view. See, notice it doesn't go over, so it's better just to go after article, press space, and now it looks good. And your bibliography is all done. Everything is correctly formatted. It did everything for you. and your paper is done, assuming your project is done, and that should do it for you. Of course, there's a lot more to Zotero. There's more features which you can discover through your own exploration, but this tutorial should be sufficient to help you get started with adding citations both manually yourself and through the web browser, as well as how to manage your citations during your research project and how to add a bibliography at the end of your research project. Hope this has been helpful. This is Tori Tier on behalf of the Southern Seminary Writing Center. Take care.